So in the last video, what we had is our platforms and our little character who could move back and forth based on hitting left and right, stops when you stop hitting a key, but he just kind of floats off into space. And also we need to implement a jump. So the jumping and the gravity are somewhat related because gravity is what's going to pull us back down after a jump. So let's go ahead and work on implementing gravity first. So I'm going to go to my dog script here. Now gravity, when you think about it, all gravity is really doing is making the character move in a downward direction. So we can simulate gravity in our game by simply having the character try to move down a certain amount every frame. So for us, that means updating our velocity. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right at the beginning of my function here, velocity.y. We want to move in the downward direction, which remember is positive in Godot. And then we're going to say, add to the y velocity some amount. And this exact amount is something you're going to have to play with. I'm going to just kind of pick a number to start with. But it's something you're going to have to play with to get the right amount of gravity. So this will cause our character at every frame to try to move down 7 pixels. So what will happen if there's something below him, like a platform though, is it just won't let him move down, so he just won't move. But if there's nothing below him, he should fall. So let's go ahead and see if that did what we wanted. So here's my character. You can see that he's no longer just floating above the ground a little bit. He's actually on it, but that's kind of subtle. So let's go walk off the edge, and we can see that he fell right off. So just to make this, just to look at this a little better for testing, I'm going to go ahead and set him a little bit up so that we can watch him fall right at the beginning. So we can see that he falls right at the beginning, and then of course we walk off a platform, he falls more. One thing you may notice is that he falls faster the second time, but we'll look at that again. That'll be a little more clear when we get to jumping. So let's go ahead and implement our jump. So we're going to go back to our script here. So if you think about a jump, if you think about what a jump is, what the jump is when we press some key, we want the character to move up in space. So we want to give him an upward velocity. We're going to go ahead, let's go ahead and assign the jump to the up arrow for now, because that's one you already know. And so we've got this chain here. This handles our left and right movement. So let's make another set of if statements. That's a separate chain. So we're going to start out with just regular if again that handles our jump. So if input dot is action pressed UI underscore up, we want the character to move up. So velocity dot y. Now remember that up is negative, so we need a negative number here, and what number you choose is again going to take some work to get right. So I'm going to start with 100, and let's just see what happens. So let's run that, and we can see that he fell there. That's nice. And when I hit the up key, he does do a little hop. Now there's not much to it, so we might want a bigger number, but we also notice we keep hitting the up key. He keeps going up, and we can basically just fly around level. And you know, that might make for a good game. I've seen some neat games use this mechanic, but that maybe isn't what we want here. And you can also see, like I was saying about that, he gets faster with his falls. But we'll look at that again later. I'm not going to worry about too much about that right now. So let's up that jump a little bit. Let's try maybe 200. That's a little nicer. You can see if I want to keep it at this level, though, I'm going to probably have to lower my platform. So this is a question of what do I want to do? Do I want to rebuild my level? Not that this is a great level to begin with, so that might be fine with lower platforms, or I want to up my jump speed. And this is a decision you can make for your game, is how much jump do you want. But you should be able to jump high enough to get to platforms. So let's look at getting rid of the double jump. What's happening now is that every time up is pressed, we just go up. We just subtract, make our velocity go more up. So what we want to do is have something that says, if I'm currently jumping, don't let me jump again. And for that, we need another variable. So I'm going to create a variable called isJumping. And initially, we're not jumping, so I'm going to set it to false. And then what we will do is, as soon as we have jumped, we're going to set isJumping to true. Now, this right here is the first step of what we need, but this isn't going to do the whole thing for us. So let's just run this and see what just this does. right now, so what this will do is we can jump, but it hasn't actually stopped us from jumping again. So there's one more thing we need, and that is that we need to only allow this stuff to happen when jumping is false. So we could put another if statement inside here, but since we only really care about the up, when up is pressed, if jumping is true, we just don't want to do anything, we can go ahead and combine our if statements here. So we can say, is the up button pressed and is jumping equals equals, remember, equals equals for comparison, false. And so let's go ahead and run that. And we can move back and forth, we can jump, but then we can never jump again. So this is working, but now it's a little too restrictive. So what we want is that once we have landed on the ground, then we're allowed to jump again. So how do we know if we landed on the ground? This is luckily something that Godot has already thought about. There's a built-in function that you can use that says if is on, and you can see there's floor, ceiling, and wall. We're looking for floor because that's the ground. So if we are on the floor, we can go ahead and set is jumping back to false. We have completed our jump, and now we are allowed to jump again. I'm putting this after my move and slide. It would probably be okay to put it before. I think it will work a little nicer after, but this is something, again, this is something you can experiment with. So let's go ahead and put that there, and then move back and forth, jump, jump. I can't jump a second time, but once I've hit the ground, then I can jump again, and we can do repeated bouncing jumps. So once you've got this far, this is a good time to work on how high should your jumps be, because since I can't fly anymore, obviously getting to my platforms here is going to be a problem. One thing you may notice, though, is that your fall speeds speed up over time as you do more jumping, and that is because here we are always adding to the velocity.y. So when we hit the floor, we also want to just go ahead and very quickly set our y velocity to 0, because we are not moving anymore. And that should fix that problem if you see it come up. The last thing I want to do, that I want to show you guys real quickly in this one, is making the camera follow the dog. Right now, as the dog moves around, the camera just stays in one place, but we'd like it for the camera to follow him so that you can make, bigger and kind of neater levels. So I'm going to go back to the 2D view, and I'm in my level here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my dog, and I'm going to make a camera that is a child of him. So I'm going to add a child node. I'm going to look for camera 2D, and you can see camera now is a child of my dog, and you can see now that this secondary blue, that's going to be my camera, what my camera shows. And this means it's okay for you when you build your level to go outside of the box that we used last time. Last time we kept everything contained in one screen, but now I'm showing you how you can set it up so you can build your level to be a lot longer if you'd like to. The important thing to do is, one, make sure camera is child of dog. Drag it to the appropriate place. If you screwed that up, that's okay. And you want to turn this current, you want to check that box so current is on. And then when I hit play, you'll see that the camera follows the dog. It's not a perfect follow, but it's perfectly adequate for this type of game. You can see, you might be able to see on my screen that I'm getting these little lines near my rocks. That's just something that Godot sometimes does with tile maps. Don't worry about that too much right now. I'll try to look into some fixes for that, but if it happens, it happens, and I'm not going to take points off your game for that. So one thing I quickly want to point out to you is that if we look at my dog here, when you're setting up your collisions for like a collectible item, you'll want to use probably an area 2D for those, but you'll see that my dog here, the kinematic body 2D, does not have the area entered here. You'll need to do your collision handling on your collectible object, a coin or a bone or whatever you want it to be. So let me really quickly make one of those, and we're going to set that up with an area 2D. And you can see what we used before was this area entered. And that works when you have two area 2Ds that are colliding. That's the correct one to use. In this case, though, what you have is an area 2D that'll be the coin and the kinematic body, which is the dog. So what you want to use now is this body entered. Everything else will be pretty much the same. You just want to use this function instead of area 2D. The only other thing that's going to change is that you see how area 2D says area, body entered says body. So instead of area.name, or get area.getName, you're going to say body.getName. But they both have that getName function, so it'll work pretty much the same other than just the names of stuff.